Morning, everyone. Today we have the honor and the pleasure of having Professor Dr. S. Ramkumar with us. Sir is Professor and Dean, Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Veterinary Education and Research, Vazhudhavur Road, Puducherry. And the topic chosen by our esteemed guest, perspective on rethinking of behavior among extension professionals. Sir, you are audible as well as visible. Also, your presentation is visible to the participants. Please start.
Yeah, but I I cannot see all, but it's okay. I'm seeing the
Around
presentation.
around 101 people have joined, and many more are joining. Around 280 people have to join. Around 200 of them would be joining around.
Fine, fine. So if it's time, I'll start with.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Happy good morning to all. If it's not audible, please correct me in between.
It's audible.
Yes. A happy good morning to all.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Rathod.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, because I cannot see in me in my screen, but I can see the presentation. I think that's fine. You can see me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. Sir.
Fine. Okay. I think this okay. All right for me. See, it's a wonderful opportunity for me, first of all, to spare some time with ignited minds throughout the nation, which the Karnataka Veterinary Fisheries and Animal Sciences University has taken the initiative of conducting the course on reorienting extension. In fact, while I was discussing with the organizers, especially Dr. Prakash, then we were discussing on a topic, and then I was saying, because this is what I usually used to do, was saying that I would like to focus on behavioral changes that are required among professionals like us, including me, as far as extension is concerned. So, considering that, one or two seminars I have already given in two states, basically, on the concept of how is it that actually we can perform better, we can perform faster, we can perform fuller, and we can perform finer. I think those are the stands actually which the present day extension is asking for. So I thought, okay, I will introduce the concept of rethinking as one tool. There are so many, and rethinking has, as always, actually has ignited me too by the wonderful author Adam Grant. If somebody is not aware of that, he has recently in 2021 brought out a book called as Think Again. Very famous writer. If you Google it, because I don't want to spend too much time on that. So that while I was reading that, as well as some more books, I was thinking the potential of this is tremendous as far as extension is concerned. And this is exactly one of the points which the extension professionals are looking for. So my focus basically, as I would say, is on rethinking a perspective of behavior change basically among extension professionals. I welcome you all to this at my personal level, sitting in Puducherry, one of the beautiful union territories. The territory word is quite important, which I'll visit again during the course. Territory in the coastal place, a very important place, earlier called as Pondicherry, now renamed as Puducherry. And extremely, as I was told, it's a pleasure to have people from different fields, diverse participants, and with diverse capacities, immense experience. And it's a common platform. We are all diverse in different ways, but we are all linked now with one thing, that's the concept of extension. So we all speak the same language, and that language is extension, which we deal with the farmers, entrepreneurs, farmerpreneurs, commercial or landless or marginal holders or different types of people. I know that there are a large number of people attending this. So my whole aim is basically to share my thoughts on the concept of rethinking, plus one or two recent advancements which very managemental techniques which are being utilized in different fields, which I felt will help us move a little more faster, move fuller and finer. With this context, I will with this introduction, I will just enter into today. I am basically sharing some of my thoughts on 7 aspects. So the whole talk will be actually centered around 7, though they are all interlinked. That interlink I will go through as I will go through. One, I will just talk about the word context, the context and change. That is a foundation I feel that every one of us is going through, the context and change. Number 2, I will talk a little bit about adaptability. Adaptability. How best the professionals should be adapting and how do we do that. The third one, the concept of rethinking, as I told Adam Grant, has widely utilized in much of the multinational companies and much of the managemental setup globally. A wide one actually. And how do we do that? And blind spot basically is a concept that comes under rethinking. Psychological safety is another aspect that we'll look into, which actually again influences our behavior in an organizational setup, which I'll conclude with the wheel and axle model of extension, which I have drafted recently and shared with some of the extension professionals. I thought I'll put it here, which will be a conclusion, and then a quick glimpse at the future. What holds? How are we going to actually go ahead as far as the future is concerned? So thoughts on context and change, adaptability, rethinking, blind spots, psychological safety, wheel and axle model, and future. So as I advance, I would suggest you to just link each one of ourselves, because it's a diverse group, as I told, which I will be coming to. The first one actually I would like to go through is context and change. So what is context and why do you connect it with change? So that's the first one that I would like to introduce. See, extension has 2 elements. One is the practice, which we all do. Many of us do in different capacities. As a teacher, I teach the students. As a person from Krishi Vijnan Kendra or KVK, you involve with the farmers with the dimension of, with the objectives of actually passing on certain good practices. Or in a section of, even within the subjects, we interact with the farmers with different objects. All those aspects, or as a veterinarian, you practice something, and that itself it consists of extension. It all actually converges to practice. So extension is a practice, the practice. And now, see, this practice of what we are doing in extension is positioned on the context prevailing. If you look at in the 19th century, in 1876 or something, when we started the concept of extension in Cambridge in UK, there was a context. But that's not the same context when you go into USA with the 4H. That's not the context when it comes to India 50 years back, when the community development projects were starting, or 1952, maybe more than 50 years. And that is not the same context that is prevailing as on today. This is the first thing that I would like to impress upon. Anytime extension practice has been dependent on the context, on a context. And that context is, what is the context prevailing at that period of time? So first let us understand this simple concept. I'm just talking very simple. There is a, hello, extension is built on practice. We all practice extension practice. We are all professionals, extension professionals. In whatever way that we are doing, it doesn't matter. In whatever subject we are doing, or in an integrated way how we are doing, it doesn't matter. Everything is an extension practice. First point, how do we actually position this practice within a context? So first we should have an idea about the context, and then only we should actually position our practice. Now, if you look at, as I told, over years you find the practice has changed, extension has changed, because there was a change in the context. That's why this 1867 or 1890 model of extension in prevailing in one country may not be fitting in 2021 as on today. Principles may be the same, The philosophies may be the same, but the policies and the concepts would have changed a lot because the context has changed. In one way, you can say the world has become smaller, cutting across all the borders. The whole concept of agriculture has changed into agri-business, agri-marketing. It has got a lot of connotations which easily you will understand. I'm just taking only one example. So the premise that people's change in behavior is to be modified into, people's change in behavior is with respect to the changing context. The first thing, the context and change. Context is not static, context is changing. Context is not changing slowly, context is changing very, very fast in the last 3 decades compared to 100 years back when you have got a lot of time to change. And this one, this is the context basically that is happening. And within that, when you say what is context, in a simple way I can say context is change, that is all. So within that, how do we fit in? See, from students, farmers, public, anyone for that matter, the change brings in or creates innovations, lot of innovations, ideas, innovations. Maybe some grow, some wither away. Within that change in or creates innovations, they are to be accepted and promoted behavioral change among professionals. And then it has got better applications. As I told, actually, there are teachers, veterinarians, agriculture officers, home science persons, fisheries persons, extension workers, scientists. Lot of people are uniformly given the task of extension. If you want to deliver better, the first point is that it has to come within us, from within us. And that, if it has to come from within us, we need to understand what is the context first. Then only we can fit in and understand. That's why I'm giving a lot of emphasis to the context, which is a change at a accelerated mode for this century. I would say even for this decade and the coming decades, as one could expect, it's going to be very, very, very fast. Now let me define this context in terms of few terms. So context is a very, very, very broad term. Let us say extension and look at the context in some few words. Context can be many things. Like you are all people working in different fields, you know. Maybe for a person who has started a career 10 years back, a person who has started the career 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, there are many people. They all know what this context talks about in their own field. Now, includes many factors. But I would suggest 4 important factors that a veterinarian or an agricultural officer or a fisheries officer or a scientist or anyone who is attending this should be capable of immediately thinking. One concept, the context means one is time. The era of practice, the year of practice, the time period of practice. When did I do the extension practice? What happened 30 years back? And what happened after 30 years have fallen? Where do I stand? Where does it happen? Why? So probably this is an internal thinking which I am talking about. So include many factors like one, context means when I say, see somebody says you are speaking about context. Can you say 4 factors what you are thinking about context? Context means I feel time is one thing. The era of practice. Number 2 is territory. I told you territory just means the location. As I told in initial stage, I told Union Territory of Puducherry. So it's a geographical location you can think about. See, whether it's a developed country, whether it's a developing country or fast developing country, or within a country, which state, or within a state, which village, or you define it in rural or urban stage. You talk about soil, you talk about cultivation, you talk about many things. So territory is something, a conglomeration of these thoughts. So the context, when I say an extension professional is working, will include number 1, the time, the era of practice. Number 2, the territory. Number 3, the technology. And that is what actually is making a drastic acceleration in all the phases. If you look at in the last 2-3 decades, maybe last 30 years, if you look at the process of development through industrial revolution and all those things, if you look at, you'll find the pace of change, the speed of change was relatively slow over years. But if you look at now in 2021 and look back, you'll find the last 3 decades have a drastic change, especially on the fulcrum, what is called as technology. The technology is churning this change. And that's a very important connotation for the context for an extension professional. How do we actually move in with this technology? And that is where the future is also going to be a little bit. And the fourth context, I would say, is policy. The policy that is decided by the government, the policy that is decided by the organizations, institutions, NGOs, banks. It's a lot of things. But let us say government, for example, a policy of the government as far as extension policy is concerned, which generally takes into account the time, territory, and technology. The government also takes this. The people, the development, the growth, the production, the productivity, livelihoods. There are a lot of factors. The population, it spreads into wider things. But again, an extension professional usually work definitely within the context of policy. Sometimes we have a say in it, sometimes we do not have a say in it. But the policy is an important instrument which makes us actually behaviorally change for the extent of work that we are doing or the efficiency of work we are doing. So to summarize quickly, I was talking about context. The context, I would say, in a quick nutshell for an extension professional to understand, it's the time, it's the territory, it's the technology, and it's the policy. These are the 4 factors in which actually we position ourselves basically to deliver. That is the practice. And these things, especially the technology, is going very fast. In essence, if you say, coming back to the same points, we work in a context of change. 50 years back, that context of change, we are talking about the frame of change, the frames changing from year to year, the frames will have a slow movement. Last 30 years, that frames are moving very fast. Now in the last maybe 10 years, is moving very accelerated, very fast. Time, territory, technology, and policy are changing like anything. As professionals, what is our ability to adapt to the fast changes? That's where I connect it to the next one. Why? See, this is the question. The question is, yes, let it change. Let the context change. Let it go on changing. To deliver, we have to run with that change. We have to be inside that change. We have to speed with that change. How best are we in this ability to adapt to the fast changes? So our focus is on behavioral change of professionals for better innovations and extensions. Look at the eras. Era means a time period. Okay, I just put that word era. That's a time period. You can classify it in different ways. This is one way of looking at it, so that we can be a little satisfied with how best we can actually improve, and we are good at it. And then, okay, there is a scope of improving our behavior too. For that, I give 3 examples. One, before Christ, and Anno Domini, after Christ. That's how the world is, the calendar is divided. You say that, okay, 1000 AD, this has happened. Or 700 BC, this has happened. Or something, the inscriptions or Indus Valley civilizations, maybe 4000 BC, we say. So there's a reason for keeping it, because there's a history over incidences. Same thing you can put for AD also. AD, for example, 1869 or 70, when extension started. You can have histories of that. You build it till 2021. You'll find the pace, the changes, the speed, everything actually moves very fast for the last 30 years. There's a drastic change. And still more faster as it comes to the last 10 years. So it's only to say that that era break or the time period break is left to us. How do we want to do it? So one was actually conveniently, they told, okay, BC and AD. There are so many calendar classifications for different countries, different people. It's all available. Now, one is one. The second one, classification, for us, I thought a good idea would be to look into a classification for the professionals as pre-Google and post-Google generation. If you look at Each one of you can divide and then think about, okay, am I a pre-Google person or a post-Google person? It's from a technology angle I am talking. You can add anything. You can be a pre-television person. I think there is some disturbance going on.
I muted the person. Please continue, sir.
Yep. So what I am trying to say is you have got a pre-Google person and post-Google person. We all who are sitting here, all the people who are sitting here, is a mix of both. We need to actually reinvent ourselves if we were pre-Google. I'm a pre-Google person. You can arbitrarily keep that as 2000, 2010 as you want it. But essentially it's a 20 to 20 years, 25, 20 years, let us say, for a convenience. So the 20 years, when I was actually going through my educational system, I did not have a Google system. Google means I'm not talking only about Google, all the associated technologies of revolution that were happening. So to conclude, I was telling, so there is a generation mix. Please understand that. There is a generation mix. A post-Google person will be more efficient, possibly, and takes less time in adapting with the time and technology. Now, one more, this I'll come back later. The third classification I will say, the future, basically, you can break the era now with pre-COVID and post-COVID. That's a safety line. 2019 was not the same as 2020. Not only 2019, for the last maybe thousands of years, we did not have a system in which we have a classification of the world, which is pre-COVID and post-COVID. It is going to happen. You talk about the education, you talk about extension, you talk about any matter, health, agriculture, practices, everything is changing now with the pre-COVID and post-COVID, because the challenges that I have raised at that time are being addressed now with different ways in the post-COVID situation. So for a generation which is going to be born maybe after this year or next year, probably the pre-COVID is going to be something, a history for them, like we see history in many other things. So interestingly, why I'm saying this era break, how does it influence our behavior? Because I was supported by Dr. Prakash in giving a general picture about the number of participants as per age category in this meeting that we are conducting, in this course. So I was just looking at that, and I found that 45 of the participants are less than 30 years, 30. Very interesting finding. 150 of these participants, the extension professionals, as I believe, are 30 to 40 years. 60 of them are 40 to 50 years, and 30 of them more than 50 years. So, number of participants as per age category, if you look at in a general way, okay, it may not be precise, but it is correct. It is not incorrect. You have got more 45 people less than 30 years. You have got 150 people, participants in this meeting, 30 to 40 years. And 40 to 50 years, you have got 60 people. More than 50 years, it is 30. Now, I'll tell two things from this. I'm not going in an elaborate form. It's just to make us realize how we can change our behavior. One, any one of this member in this, irrespective of their age, we meet all generations. You look at this. We meet all generations. We meet these generations in our family, because I'll have my wife, a wife will have a husband, and they will have a children. They will have children, or they will have their parents, their grandparents, and maybe their grandparents now. Look at, you can have a feeling of all the people around. You need not have, you may have friends having all this. That means we are living in a world wherein we meet a different type of generations at any time. Was it not like this earlier? Yes, 100 years back also it was like this. Then what's the difference now? Technology. Technology which decides our life. That has made a difference. See, we feel now, for example, a child, a born baby, after 1 year or 2 years, even earlier, they are given a phone and they start playing with that in the game. Everything over fine. A pre-Google person like me, is still struggling actually to understand how to actually enter into the game. So look at your group, the less than 30 years, I personally feel will be more stronger, more adaptable, more faster in getting into technology. Whereas a person like me will be waiting to see why this technology I have learned and done with all those things so many years. So I can also do away with all those things. Why should I? Why should I? That's a question that actually is actually making people. Now the problem here is, I'll tell you, the behavioral problem here is technology is actually applicable in different fields and it is fast advancing. If you stand on one side and look at what others are doing, we admire our children doing it, but we don't want to do it. We say that actually my child is very good at this, or my grandchild is very good at it. Yes, okay, fine. Why not? Or my brother is good, my sister is good. Okay. The question here is, we all have to be good at it. We need to be good at it. Professionals have to be good at it, technology especially. And that's where a post-Google person will take lesser time than the pre-Google person. It is not compulsorily. A pre-Google person who has got the fast mind sometimes can do better. And there are people who are amazingly doing better. Ultimately, the age category I was just mentioning, because it can affect our behavior in one way like this. Number two, when you have a person leading you under the pre-Google who has not opened their mind still to technology, and you are a person who is the post-Google with advanced technologies, you can sometimes have a slowness in your performance, because acceptance, motivation, and compliments are the things that require in extension, not only in extension, any field basically, for you to move. So if I have a technology and I come and say to my officer next to me, sir, I got something like this because this is a technology which I have learned and I feel that it has got something. Assume that you have got a superior officer saying that, wonderful, I don't know it, but I am happy with what you are doing. Please go ahead. This is what we want. So this generational adjustment on technology is a must for improving. That's why I just made this point. So context and change, I have just concluded a little bit. And now I will go to the next concept which I want to talk about, adaptability. Adapt. How do you adapt? It's a vast portion, but I'm only touching that, what I wanted to do. So adaptability, basically, it's understanding, creating, and applying innovation. Basically, I dependent on another book which I have read, a wonderful book again on Friedman, called as Thank You for Being Late. Thank you for being late. So in this book, he talks about an adaptability line, which I'll go through the next 2 slides. He gives an example of Rick Astroteller, the CEO of Google's R&D lab, which produced Google's self-driving car. There was a Google's self-driving car, among other innovations, which actually started. So here he talks about the next 2 slides from that connotation. Let us take the first slide. Technology and adaptation. You please put yourself or ourselves in the place of human adaptability. Every extension professional can keep ourselves under that human adaptability. That's a human adaptability. So this is where I want all of us to be. This line is for us. Now, look at the technology. So you can take this specifically to extension or any field you are working, and then say there's a rate of change that is happening and the time that it actually spreads through. Technology, it actually started slow, and then, as I said earlier, it has taken a steep jump up. But human adaptability has not taken this arc. Human adaptability over years is going like this. Now, as far as technology is concerned, we are here. But the adaptability is still down than what is required. So our idea is, our adaptability should be touching this. This is exactly what our extension professionals need to actually and touch. We need to touch this technology. That means if you go in this way, it will take a lot of time and it may not touch. That means somewhere we'll have to lift ourselves and reach here, which is not a difficult thing. It's not at all a difficult thing. And that is actually told in the next slide. That means, as I told earlier, the human adaptability. How do we want to adapt? Basically, we reach here. So that means learning faster and governing smarter. Two things for extension professionals, not only for extension professionals, for all. How do we reach there? We have to learn faster. It cannot be a slow learning. And we have to govern smarter. That means the life, the total life I am talking about, the whole life, basically. We need to learn faster and govern smarter. Why? Because the technology is demanding. Why? Because the technology is deciding life. I cannot say that I will not simple thing. I will not transfer money through an electronic change. I'll go to the bank, I'll write. It's not possible always now. That's drastically how we have changed. We cannot say that actually I will not use the e-platform marketing. If you don't use it, sometimes you will not get it. That's all, if COVID is there. So the necessity has created all this. And if you stand on one side, we will not actually move ahead. Same applies to extension also. If you look at the technology adaptation, so one of the things what we need to seriously think, the extension professionals, how do we improve our adaptability? Two things. Make your mind to learn faster and govern things smarter. Once you would actually go in for the learning faster and governing smarter, we will reach there without no time. Even now, if you look at, you'll find in many organizations and institutions, there's a lot of improvement as far as the people are concerned. Sometimes the post-Google are taught by the pre-Google, where the open mind is there. And they leave it to them. Okay, come on, take it. I will also be a part of it. Whereas the mindset, if it is closed, it's very difficult basically to do it. And that's very, very important, because it's not only, here, when you say human adaptability, it's not only the extension professionals who are moving. The context, you please remember, the whole world is moving. Our farmers are moving. They are more capable of technology now. Their children are more capable of technology and teaching them, because education has improved. Many people go to schools and colleges. Their children tell them, see, father, this is how it is. Then why don't you do like this? Then they will come to the extension professional knowing this background. They need not be literate with the phone, but somebody is literate in their home. So with all those things, unless we change, it's very difficult basically to move in ahead with the system that we are following. With this, I am closing the second one, adaptability. A simple thing. You can go on with a lot of things, but it's a long and a big ocean of thoughts, basically. So two things. One, I talked about context and change. Second, I am saying we need to adapt. We need to adapt faster, and we need to do it smarter, because the people around us are doing so. The farmers are doing, all our stakeholders are doing, the bank is doing, farmers are doing, entrepreneurs are doing, everyone is doing that learning faster and governing, because the life is asking. So like we apply it in our life, in our professional life also, we need to actually faster and smarter. Now comes the concept of rethinking. And a very interesting concept, as I have told. As like adaptability, what we need to have basically as an extension professional is as I told, actually, he told actually about the Think Again. That is a book, Adam Grant, the book by Adam Grant. Think Again. That's the power of knowing what you don't know. The power of knowing what you don't know. So he has written another book also called as Originals, a very interesting book on entrepreneurship. If somebody is interested, they can always read it years back. It's a wonderful book. Now, in that actually, he talks about I'll just give this small introduction and then go into the rethinking cycle. He says about what is called as a first instinct fallacy. I'll explain what it is. First instinct. You have got an instinct when you see somebody, oh, he is good, she is good, oh, he is very good. Or you do something, then you go, okay. Then sometimes you may feel, no, my thoughts are different actually. So I correct it. This is the instinct we have. We always say that our first instinct is always good, correct. My instinct has told like this. But he says, in a study that recently, it's called as it's not correct. It is incorrect, or it can be deceptive. It can be false. So that's why this word fallacy, fallacy, is fallacy is false. So first instinct fallacy. We all have a first instinct. Correct, good, very good, not so good. What he says is it may not be. An example, he did a study among the students among Illinois in USA. We all go through multiple test questions. When in an exam, we have got a multiple choice question paper. We all write it. Our students right now. So what they do, one question, capital of India. So you get four choices or five choices. So you first write, for example, somebody writes first a false, he takes it and then goes. He says, if there is time, the people, the candidates, erase that and then revisit it and mark some other answer. And his study proves that this going back and then revise the wrong to right is around 50%. Only 1/4 of the students have gone from right answer to wrong answer when they recorrect it. Inside the exam hall, when they have some time, we all do that. After we have a doubt with one question, we revisit that question, think about it, and then say, okay, anyhow, I'll choose this. According to this study, basically what they say is this right to wrong is only 20-25%. 50% or more, or 60% to 70%, that is revisiting basically the answers is a good one. It gives score, better score. That's a study that they have done. So interestingly, what it talks is about rethinking. So I have rethought about what I have done. I have revisited. I have got the open mind to actually go and debate and select one. This is a simple concept. See, we all have intelligence. I'm not going to talk about intelligence, which generally you can define in different ways, but it generally talks about thinking and learning. So how do we think? How do we deal with a new situation, novel situation? How do you act accordingly? Everything. Basically, we talk about thinking and learning, right? Now, in this context, which I have been talking about, we have been describing earlier with the adaptability, with the speed and fastness of the technology, with the people around, with the entrepreneurs and the type of people who are coming into agriculture and different fields are so varied now. It's a turbulent situation. Within a turbulent situation, it's not the thinking and learning that helps us as a professional. It's the rethinking and unlearning, two words, that helps us. That helps us actually to be faster. That means we should have the fast answers. I'm very sure many of you have this experience, people coming and asking you, what should I do? And even over phone now, what should I do? My field is having some pest. So what should I do? And when we say something, you may say, then he may say, no, there is another thing that this government has told or this company has told. Should I do it? They're so fast. Or a treatment of an animal, or a catch from the sea, or making a new product to eat or drink in the home science. All sectors are shaken with the technology. That means all people are involved. If we are not into that, we will be actually set beside, and the efficiency may not be that good as we are expecting. That means there is a challenge that is expected from our side to fast, so that we rethink and unlearn. So that is the key words to grapple with the new situation, with the turbulent, fast situation. It's the rethinking. Now, what is rethinking? As I told earlier, first thing it's an open mind to revisit things, to revisit and understand things. It starts with the concept, basically, I may not be knowing everything. It starts with that concept, I may not be knowing. Maybe the farmer is better. This I also used to tell always. The farmers are usually the best managers of their situation. Assume I have some money in my bank, and somebody else comes and tells what is to be done. I'll always think about how it is, because from the other person's point, it is better that you put it in the deposit, you get this, that, or you put it in the stock. But I may feel, no, I want some money for my wife, or wife's somebody, or some other thing is happening. So that only I know. The same thing happens with the professionals also. When I go to a farmer and say, this is the better thing for you, you do like this, He or she may say, he may agree with us, but then finally say, okay, sir, but I don't want this. I will do. They may have reason. They have valid reasons. So this is exactly what it is difficult for us to understand. So we need to understand that they also have a reason for them telling so. The farmers are telling so probably because they have got some reasons, which some we may understand, some we cannot understand because it's a human mind. It's not anything that materially we can actually fix it. But the more we work with them, we understand, we realize many of their concerns and their apprehensions are sometimes true, which if we understand, corrections become easy, extension delivery becomes easy, information and knowledge becomes easy. It is within this context that Grant has put up this concept, what is called as the rethinking cycle, which starts with basically humility. Humility in the sense intellectual humility. Let me just clarify this. It's actually the intellectual humility that we are talking about. When we talk about intellectual humility, we are basically telling that we don't know certain things which we don't know. We are not claiming that we know everything. It's not possible, because again, please understand, it's impossible for us to know everything because context is changing. Today I come and see the field and go. Tomorrow I come, it's a different thing. Sometimes I know, sometimes I have to work with the farmer to know what has happened, or maybe more stakeholders with the scientists and other people to understand and give an answer. Even that itself is a big thing to understand. So how do you actually go in? So that means there's a long list of ignorant things. Why we cannot tackle certain things? We can tackle, but the realization, what I am telling, is important in our behavior. If we understand, okay, there are things which we cannot do, we need to gather and then do it. See, what happens when you have intellectual humility about on the knowledge aspect, we can recognize shortcomings, not only ours, everybody's. That opens the door to what you call as the doubt, the second part. There is a doubt. We question our current understanding. Okay, I have studied like this, I have seen it in that place like this place like this, but it challenges. It challenges. That's what the world is. That's what an extension professional should do. Why is it so that it's not happening? We question our current understanding and become curious, the next step. We become curious. It's not that actually we frustrated and go and sleep. No. When we get, that is what the turbulent times is asking. That is the learning that we are asking, unlearning, and then rethinking. We rethink. And okay, I studied like this, but this is happening like this. Okay, this is the reason. I have to improvise. I have to do this. Need not do this. So it becomes curious about mind information we missed. When we actually look into the information we missed, we discover. That is the next chance. That's the next step in rethinking cycle. That is called as rethinking, that is discovery. So it's a connected cycle, basically. If you look at ourselves, you will get ample examples wherein every day you go through this process. So it's a humility, it's the doubt which raises our challenge, which makes us curious, and the curiosity actually takes us through discovery, and then we go to humility. It's a cycle. This is the rethinking cycle, and this happens not over years. It can happen within fraction of a second sometimes. All this. It's a human mind. Basically, how does it do? But that attitude, if we can develop, that mindset, if we can develop, probably we are in the path of growth, because technology is also a part of it. Now, what is the, see, generally he explains in that there are two ways in which you can think. This is the most humble thing. It's a scientist's perspective. That's what he calls. I'm not going into that descriptive, that will confuse. This is the best way, the rethinking cycle. And in that, the other extreme, what he calls is as the overconfident cycle. Overconfident. Like, see, I'm the master of everything. So whatever people bring and tell me, say that, sir, this disease is like this, or this cattle is suffering like this. This could be the reason. No. I know it. This is the one. I'm not opening my mind. It might be, it may not be, but I'm not opening my mind. Why? It's not. It's a type of what you call as intellectual arrogance, I'll say. Let's say I have that idea. Yes, fine. You can have confidence, but what he says, you cannot have overconfidence. So that takes us to the next cycle, just the opposite of what we call from the rethinking cycle. So it is a rethinking cycle versus overconfidence cycle. Let us say in a simple way, let me define this confidence also. I think we need to go a little faster because I have lots to say, but I'll not do much. See, in the overconfidence cycle, it starts with the pride, it goes to conviction. There is a confirmation bias and a desirability bias, which requires validation. Now, in a simple way, confidence is a measure of how much you believe in yourself. Two factors. You believe in yourself, that's distinct from, that is different from how much you believe in your methods. That means, if I work as an extension professional, there are two things which I look into. One is how much I believe in myself. Belief means confidence. That is the belief. Now, there is also one more thing, how much I believe in my methods, the techniques, how much I believe in that. You see, it's an intermixture of all the contextual things that we have been talking about. Where I am working, who is working, what's the technology available, how much I know it, how much the farmers know. So when you go into a place when the farmers know better than us, actually we will be less confident. Or in a place where whatever it is, overconfidence is not good. So these two factors you just keep in mind, because I'm going to take that one more. Probably after that I will not do much. I'll just speed up because it's almost time. So what I'll say is that confidence is a measure basically on how much, one, you believe in yourself, two, believe in your methods. Now, when we do not have the knowledge and skills to achieve excellence, it's a very important, that's why I just thought I will just put it here, excellence. We sometimes lack the knowledge and skills to judge excellence. You look in an aspect of, I'm not talking about the science, talk about the angle of technology. For example, I do not have, or I lack the knowledge and skill on certain things. If I do not have it, how do I judge it with my youngsters or with another stakeholder, other farmer? I don't lack it. Prone to overconfidence in situation where it's easy to confuse experience with expertise. Please note it and you can read about it later. Experience and expertise are different. Similarly, if you are good at it, you take about it. So what we want is rethinking. We don't want overconfidence cycle. That's the basic thing. What will change? I will just rush through the next one. I'm not going to say what is confirmation bias and desirability bias, which two biases through which we go through. You can always refer. Now I'll just explain this and then quickly wind up. See, the confidence sweet spot. I told you two things. One is belief in yourself. Confidence is belief in yourself. Confidence is belief in your tools or methods or techniques. He classifies it into four. This one, belief in your tools can be certain and uncertain. Like, for example, I know to operate this. I'm not very certain to operate it. I'm not sure. I'm very sure about operating this. The systems or whatever you call technology, tangible materials or intangible. You can talk about anything. It's a broad word. Belief in yourself, I feel I'm secure. That means I'm confident. And wherever you feel insecure. So two ways. Belief in yourself can be divided into secure and insecure. Excuse me. And belief in your tools can be divided into certain and uncertain. Now look at that combinations that he has come out with. I'm not going into detail. What is suggested for an extension professional or anyone is the confident humility. The last small box on the right hand down, confident humility, which is belief in yourself is secure, but belief in your tools is uncertain. So that is the combination that is actually the best one that you can, because you always improve for the uncertainty, because you are sure about yourself, but you are not sure about your tools. You make up, you go on improving. Look at the other things you get into obsessive inferiority, you get blind arrogance and debilitating doubt. Now, see, this is one thing what people usually say. Instead of rethinking, when somebody talks to or discusses with us, maybe the farmers, maybe our officers, maybe our children, maybe, I don't know, anyone, our students. If you are not into rethinking, when people say things, what we generally say is that will never work here. That's not what my experience has shown. That's too complicated. Let's not overthink it. That's the way we have always done it. These are all negative things, basically. You can call it as thinking, but it is not rethinking. Rethinking blocks this. Now, one concept is blind spots in knowledge. See, we all have blind spots in knowledge and opinions. That prevents rethinking. If there are certain blind spots in our knowledge and opinions, it leaves us blind to see even our blindness in the knowledge. That gives us false confidence in our judgment, and it blocks rethinking. The blind spots prevent us from applying our intelligence. It can contort, it can distort our intelligence into a weapon against truth. The tragedy is that we are usually unaware of the resulting flows in our thinking. We feel that whatever we are thinking is right if we have got blind spots. Understand the blind spots, correct the blind spots, open up our minds, and then move forward. That's exactly what we need to actually go in for. And I'm skipping the psychological safety, which is a very important one, which can breed complacency among people. Because see, I'll just quickly say, what is psychological safety? What it is not. We all feel relaxing standards. It is not psychological safety. That means instead of 2, I'll eat only 1. It is not actually the good thing. Instead of 5 works, I'll do only 2. You are relaxing it. It's not a safety. Making people comfortable, being nice, agreeable, or giving unconditional praise in a system of anything in an organizational setup. Basically, professionals have to be what it is. It should be a fostering climate of respect, trust, and openness in which people can raise concerns and suggestions without fear of reprisal. This is a very, very important one in any organizational setup, wherever you are working. If you have a fear in suggesting something, a fear of reprisal, then you cannot come out with the best. That's why I told there is a mixture of age, era differences everywhere. Some are better, some are not good. Some are very good in something, some are not that good. But we have to have an open mind in accepting everyone and then promoting it. And it should be a foundation of learning culture. See, I would say the second one is the most important one. If somebody is given the whole freedom of expressing whatever what she wants to do in an organization, whether it is right or wrong, have a debate on it and then close it. That's the best way in which actually extension professionals can improve. This is the model which I have just drafted down, which will be easy for you. There is nothing to explain now. Whatever I have been talking about, I have put in this one. You look at a wheel. The wheel has to run smoothly. It has to have an axle. And the axle has to be fixed with proper bolt or nuts. Let us say the extension practice is the wheel. And if you do not fix it with the proper context, the time, technology, territory, and policy, which I have been talking about, and it is positioned, and the process is rethinking. And then if you run it, it becomes easy. And this same thing I am putting it, the context is there, time, technology, territory. Technology is rethinking versus overconfidence. And the practice to positioning, again, back, it's a cycle. It's actually learning, unlearning, and relearning. The future, basically, I would say that we understanding that knowledge is power, knowing what we don't know is wisdom. That is wisdom. That's a higher level. Learn, unlearn, and relearn. That is the wisdom. The future, for an extension professional to perform better, deliver better, and to contribute better as a human being, we have to adapt to the accelerated adaptation to changes. It's accelerated adaptation to changes. And delivering with the character of rethinking. Rethinking is a very, very important concept because it helps us in faster, fuller, and finer information transfer if you want to, or service delivery you want to. You can call it anyway. Whatever that you are delivering, whether it is advices, whether it is information, whether it is technology, whether it is intangible advices, whatever it is, the people who are looking at the present day, whether it's a child or whether it's a person who is actually wanting it, they want to do it as fast as possible. Faster, fuller, and finer. I usually end up with this. I say, what is the secret of the top? The top. The top is lying down. The secret is you spin it. The spinning is the secret of the top. We are all tops. We are all, everyone who is attending and hearing and listening and doing and what not actually, everyone. Some are spinning. Some are reluctant to spin themselves. They have the power, but they don't spin. And some don't do it at all. yeah, or in their own terms. But the secret of the top ultimately, like the delivering of extension professionals ultimately, depends upon spinning. Wish you all the best, and I will close it here. One or two portions I couldn't, but it's a wonderful opportunity for me to share these thoughts and delivery. Definitely, I look forward from feedback. You can get my email also. I will definitely welcome welcome opinions and all those things even later over my mail. So that is also that is available with Dr. Prakash. I think he will share it with all of the participants. I would personally like to have your opinions, one or two sentences, even if it is short, through to my email later. And now it is open for discussion as you want to.
Yeah, good morning, all the participants. Majiji, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Participants, please, if you have any doubts or any queries, you can just interact with our resource person. And in fact, actually, it was a very good lecture, although maybe a different type of lecture, actually, what we have been hearing for all these days, because it is basically within us. So that is what he has tried to express, and he has just made us clear that we need to explore ourselves with a good thinking. And in fact, there were a good number of other examples, good number of books being referred. So I would like to have a few queries or questions if there are from the participants, please.
There are a few people who have raised their hands.
Yeah,
Meenakshi
please.
is raised her hand. And
Dr. Bhairava, I think
Bhai-
we'll take
Bhai-
Dr. Bhairava.
yeah, both of them have raised their hands. If there are questions, please ask.
Yeah, Dr. Bhairava, please. Bhairava, sir, are you there? Yeah, maybe. Okay. Do we have Dr. Meenakshi here? Dr. Meenakshi? You have also raised your hand. Can you please come up with the question or anything to share?
Dr. Meenakshi, please ask your question via chat or directly audio.
Are you there?
She's writing something. She said yes. Meenakshi Dheer.
Yeah, please.
She said no question. Anybody who wants to interact with the resource person or has a question for resource person, please ask.
And I have also added the mail ID of our resource person.
Yep. Thank you, Prakash.
Sir, mostly thank you, sir. There are no question, I guess. Yeah, Jahar Ghosh, please ask. Dr. Jahar Ghosh.
No, thank you, sir.
Okay.
It's a nice presentation.
Anybody else wants to interact or has a question, please ask.
Dr. Raj Lakshmi. Any questions?
Sir, I just want to get the view of the resource person.
Yeah, please.
Thank you very much for your excellent lecture, sir. You ended your presentation by telling that the secret on the top ends in the bottom. So what do you want to emphasize? Is it mean the bottom means it is based upon the activity that we have performed for during our service, or anything very important you want to stress on that, sir? I want to get your views.
Okay. See, what I was meaning was, see, we are all by ourselves tops, and we have got the capacity of spinning. But see, sometimes somebody has to spin us. If you have got a good mentor, for example, you are a student in a classroom. As a teacher, I can spin the students, the minds of the students. A teacher has that ability, irrespective of subject, whatever that you teach. Or your superior officers or your colleagues, all these people can spin you, or you yourself can explore and spin. What I am trying to say is, when you have that much of abilities, the secret of the top basically is to spin ourselves, so that what are the ways in which you can spin? You can enter into adaptability, which I have been talking about. You can understand about the context and change that is happening around, and then you can think about rethinking that we have been talking about. So there are so many factors which will help us enter into this instead of lying idle, and then you don't call it as a top. A top is called as a top when it spins. So this is exactly what I'm telling. So we have got a resource that is lying. We have got techniques of actually spinning ourselves. So let us do it in the best way possible.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, in fact, what I understood from the last slide was even about like spinning this in the sense just exploring our own abilities. Am I right, sir?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes our intrinsic motivation, or maybe sometimes the extrinsic motivation, what is going to bring in our best abilities or capacities in doing our activities or works.
Absolutely. And that's one more point. If only we are motivated or inspired, we can inspire others. We also have a duty of doing that, whether it is farmers, whether it is students, whichever sector you are working with, it doesn't matter. If we don't have it, many of us lose it because we don't have it. So that's a big responsibility of extension professional.
Any other question?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, Ramesh, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Dr. Ramesh speaking, sir. I think today's presentation is very informative and
Yes.
good afternoon, sir. Today's presentation is very informative, sir, and useful, sir. As we are all working in the extension system. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Please.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Whatever the information given is very informative, sir.
Thank you.
I think this concept is like yes, our Swami Vivekananda concept like philosophy, no, sir.
Yes.
We have to motivate ourselves only. Nobody can motivate you.
True. I agree.
Hello.
I can hear. I can hear.
And moreover, we have to identify our strength.
Yeah,
once we have identified our strengths,
true.
We have to keep on spinning for it, no, sir.
True. Absolutely.
That is the thing only. You have to identify the strength and spin on those strengths.
Correct.
That will help us to explore our explore the positive. That's the thing, no, sir. Hello.
Absolutely.
Hello?
You are right. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, sir. What we are doing, sir? Yes, sir. That's why I even worked in Northeast, sir. Arunachal Pradesh.
Okay.
There the situation is totally different. Like we always receive like a negative attitude and a negative this thing environment.
Oh.
We people from the South India, when we go there, you will not get a congenial environment to work. Nobody motivates you, nobody inspires you. Only thing what I was understood is I strongly believe in Vivekananda's principles. I used to get motivated myself. That helped me to work better there.
Very good.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Because see, if you look at
Thank you,
because
sir.
he has quoted Swami Vivekananda, if you look at Vivekananda's concept itself,
Yes, sir.
education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. So even if you work with a farmer, what we need to understand, here is a person who knows many things. May not be the same things as I know, but here is a person who knows everything. I need to manifest this person to bring out the best. That's the same thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. If the environment is not congenial to work also, we can create the environments that are congenial for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, you see, we don't have a world we desire. That nobody will have it. But we have a world wherein actually we can connect and work and make it desirable, more desirable.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I will contact over mail, sir.
Sure.
I will
Thank
contact
you.
over mails and take
Definitely.
it. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks.
Sure, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else?
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, Rajalakshmi. It's
Sir,
nice that you are meeting through this.
yes, sir.
Right, right.
Sir, sometimes when we try to motivate ourselves, no, sir, sometimes some people are feeling difficulty to identify the power within them, sir. That time, how to explore ourselves, sir.
You mean to say that we want to actually motivate? We are in a low level. You
Yes,
want
sir.
to actually motivate and to become a little
Yes,
more
sir.
active.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Some people have self-motivation. Some people are lagging it, sir. So if we have to explore ourselves, motivate ourselves, means what are the ways we can do that,
There
sir?
are two things which I would like to say. One is that if there are people who can motivate you, there are things which can motivate you. It need not be necessarily. It need not be people. It can be a book that can motivate you. It can be a few lines which can motivate you. You need not always depend on a person. It can be a song which can
Yes, sir.
motivate you. It can be a person whom we love very much talking to for some time. It can motivate you. It can be a scenery that you see can motivate you. It can be a movie that some parts which may motivate you. There, see,
Yes, sir.
definitely, I always feel there's a repository of things in our mind which can motivate us. Definitely, but it may not be necessarily a person. But your question, it again depends upon the person. There is not a common answer. Like it's like a counseling, no? So
Yes.
psychologists counsel person to person. So
Okay, sir.
here the basic problem, as I feel, you see, you have to come out. Definitely, everyone has it. That's what I can say. Maybe
Yes,
you
sir.
not have invented. You may feel okay when that sir is talking or when that person is talking. I am so happy to listen to. When the other person is saying it is so demotivating. The other, so let us avoid that one. Go into that one. But sometimes you would not have invented that reading certain types of books or certain types of stories or certain types of songs or certain writing yourself basically or simply scribbling something, anything basically for that matter. The humans are blessed with a lot of options for
Yes,
motivation,
sir.
but whether we have explored it or not is a different thing.
Yes, sir. Because some people always have positivity within them, no, sir. When you talk with them, you feel really happy. But some people, when you talk, no, sir, we don't feel so, what to say, so motivated. We feel, oh, why are we like that? Like that, we feel, no, sir. That's
You
what,
should
sir.
never feel
So,
that. The thing is,
mm,
the success of life, as I always feel, as I told earlier, we don't have a world that we desire. That means everything will be good. No,
yes,
there will
sir.
be,
That is true, sir.
there is no purpose of the concept of emotions given to us. We have been given some 9 emotions or more emotions. Why is it given to us? Because we
Yes,
have to apply. We have to cry. We have to be feeling bad. We have to be feeling good. But the balance is, how do you lift yourself and become the best? So
yes, sir.
every moment we need to actually do that, and you do not do it purposefully. See,
Yes, sir.
you have to face negative people definitely, but it doesn't mean that you need to be negative. Slowly you understand, okay, I have to face this person, this, because as I told, it's not a world which we desire or we want the people. Okay, I want these 10 people around. Then it would have been so easy for everyone to work. But out of the 10, you find one
Yes,
or
sir.
two are actually very difficult to be dealt with.
Yes, sir.
You have to overcome that, and that becomes an experience for you for the next experience. It's not that it will be definitely useful for you as you build upon.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Majidji.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think there are no
No
if
questions.
there are no
Yeah.
questions, I think let us close it formally. And
Yes.
we have also shared the mail ID. If there are any queries, maybe they can directly contact him also.
Yes, sir.
So just I take this opportunity to thank our resource person, Dr. Ramkumar sir, who is the Dean of Veterinary College over there. And although he's a very busy person, and in fact, before selecting this topic itself, we had almost more than a 1 hour discussion. And we just had a lot of discussions on this, and he was very much interested and keen enough to deliver this topic, so that our extension professionals or any professionals as such need to reorient our thinking as well as to work on exploring our own abilities. So that was the idea. We had him here, and I'm really happy that actually he has given his best to this particular topic. and he has also given us lot many information by referring different books, textbooks, or even novels. And it is very nice talking to him always over phone. In fact, you get lot many things to learn even. And he has made us that we have to explore ourselves and work in the best interest of the farming community as well as for all of us. Sir, on behalf of all the organizers as well as on behalf of our participants and my personal behalf, I really thank you very much for sharing your experiences with the participants as well as sharing your valuable time. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
thank you all the participants. Let
Thank
us
you,
all
sir.
meet at 2:30 again. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you all.
Thank
Thank you.
you all.
Thank you everyone. Let's join back at 2:30.